I the only Harry Potter fan that doesn't actually own a wand? Because if I am, I should pretty much retire and never speak of this again. Hello beautiful bookworms, my name is Katarina and welcome to my channel, and today I'm gonna be doing a tag because I haven't done one for a while now, and because it is September, it is almost fall, it is the beginning of all of the Harry Potter books and everything like that, I decided that I was going to be doing the Harry Potter spells book tag. And also because I've seen a lot of people doing it and I didn't know anything about it and I enjoyed it and I thought it was pretty cool. So, any excuse to talk about Harry Potter, am I right? So this tag consists on 10 questions, and in the end, if you want to tag someone, you can tag. If you don't want to tag, you don't need to. So that is that. So question number 1 is Expecto Patronum, and it is a childhood book connected to good memories. And for me, that book is going to be this one, which is a Portuguese book, so I'm gonna try to translate the title for you. And this means basically The Daughter of Worlds, and it is by Inês Botelho, and she's a Portuguese writer. And basically this is the beginning of a trilogy, which I do have the entire trilogy. And this was like the first fantasy book that I've ever read, I believe, in my life. And this connects a lot with my childhood because after reading this was when I decided that I wanted to possibly be a writer in my future. So I started writing based on what I was learning throughout this trilogy about fantasy worlds. And this was really cool. It was my first connection with fairies or fae. It was my first connection with other worlds, and it was really amazing. They were fairly small for a child to read, and they were fairly easy to read, and I still have them today. I would like to reread them one day because I have fond memories of these books. Question number 2 is Expelliarmus, or a book that took you by surprise. And for that one, I'm going to choose Inferno by Dan Brown. I was literally swept off my feet by this book. I really enjoyed it. It was one of my favorite Dan Brown books, or possibly my favorite Dan Brown book, because I have read pretty much all of his books with exception of the last one that came out, which I already have and I want to read, but I still haven't got to. And I was pretty much like, okay, I know your formula, I know your thing, and I know what you're gonna do, but I wasn't expecting the plot twist and the major problem of Inferno, and I loved it. I actually dragged my mom and my boyfriend with me to the cinema when this movie came out because I wanted them to watch the movie with me because I wanted to see if it was a great adaptation or not. I fairly enjoyed it. I really like the premise of this book, so I was fairly surprised that a Dan Brown book could actually provide such emotions after I have read so many that I already kind of knew what his formula was, so I was pretty surprised by this. Question number 3 is Priori Incantatum, and that means, well, it doesn't mean, but that question stands for the last book that you've read. And for that one, I read City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab. This is the last book that I've read, and I'm gonna try and remember to link down below the review that I made for this book because I actually did one. And spoiler alert, I really adored this book. This is a middle grade novel by Victoria Schwab, pretty dark and pretty amazing. Question number 4 is Alohomora, which is a book that introduced you to a genre that you hadn't considered before. And for this one, I'm gonna go with Misery by Stephen King, which was the first horror novel that I ever read in my entire life. Obviously, I started with a king because people know that you start with a king if you want to go to horror. But this was the first one that I started with. I was pretty afraid that I wasn't going to take it very well because I read this fairly youngish, you can say, before my teens, and I absolutely loved it. And after this I said, well, I'm going to read horror, everyone, because this was pretty cool. Question number 5 is Ridiculous, or a funny book that you have read. And for this one, because I don't read a lot of very funny books, I decided to go with a book that I'm currently reading, and that is Magnus Chase and the Ship of the Dead by Rick Riordan. Everything that Rick Riordan writes is actually pretty funny, in my opinion, although some of the jokes are a little bit teenagery, middle grade-ish, and sometimes I get them and I'm like, really? You went for that? But that's just because I'm a little bit overgrown for those kinds of jokes, but the rest of the story is kind of pretty funny, and I can laugh out loud at some of the parts. So yeah, I'm gonna go with this book. Question number 6 is sonorous, and that means book you think everyone should know about. And as per usual in my recommendations of books that people don't talk enough and that are truly underrated, I'm gonna go with the Black Jewels trilogy, which begins, by Anne Bishop, of course, which begins with Daughter of the Blood, and then Heir to the Shadows, and then Queen of Darkness, I believe. And you should read this trilogy if you want to see something amazing. For real though, like, people don't talk about these books enough. And they should. Like, nobody talks about this. Like, go read this. This is amazing. This is brilliant. Just go read this. Question number 7 is Obliviate, and that is a book or spoiler you would like to forget having read. Well, I wrote that badly. Okay, so for this one, it's not really something that I read, but rather something that I watched, and you're going to understand that in a second. So this this year? Wow, I don't even know what year it is, but I think it was this year, I went to see the first part of the modern It movie based on Stephen King's novel. And I actually haven't read the novel, and now I have the novel to read. This big, gigantic sort of thing. And I wish I could forget some of the plot points of the movie, because now that I'm going to read it, those parts are not going to scare me or be something new to me. So I really enjoy the movie. I love the movie, which was actually what made me want to buy the book and read it before the second part of the movie comes out, so that I know stuff. But because I believe the book goes between timelines, so the children are adults, and then they are children, then they are adults, and then are children, blah, 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 blah. I would really enjoy not have seen the first one and not know the stuff that happens when they are children, so that now everything would be a surprise. But I guess I could still love this. I don't know. I will see. Let's just see. Question number 8 is Imperio, and that is a book you had to read for school. And here in Portugal, we have to read a lot of Portuguese authors for school, so I read some books. Not as much as I've seen some other countries reading, which is kind of sad because I would enjoy to have read more books, but I understand that. But one that we read that I really, really enjoyed, and most of my colleagues did not, was by José Saramago, which is our Nobel Prize winner. And I don't really know how you can translate this, but I would go with The Convent Memorial or something like that. And as you can see, opposed from all of my books, this one is tabbed. I believe it has things written on it. Oh yeah. It has things written on it because we were studying the chapters, so I had to write some of the things that we were studying. So yeah, I used this book pretty good, and I kind of did not want to write in the book, but I had to so I could study, and I actually read the entirety of the book so I could actually understand all of the plot points. And I really enjoyed this book. I really enjoyed reading it. I do believe that I should read more of this author's work because I only read this one, which is kind of bad because he's our Nobel Prize winner. I should read more of his works. And I have pretty much all of his works in a shelf in here, and I haven't read them, so yeah. But yeah, this was a book that I had to read that I actually love reading for school, and a lot of people would tell you otherwise, but it was a pretty fun experience. And although it is tabbed, and I don't really enjoy seeing my books tabbed, it's pretty fun to have a tabbed book in the middle of my collection. Question number 9 is Crucio, which is a book that was painful to read. And I'm going to interpret it painful a little bit different from what you would probably interpret as painful. So the book that I chose for this is actually a gigantic manga, and that is Corpse Party Book of Shadows. And this is kind of a sequel to the original Corpse Party manga, which is about some students that get trapped in this time loop of a school, and they are actually getting murdered one by one. So that is already kind of painful because they show you the gory ways that they die and the ways that they get separated from their family and friends, and it's pretty gruesome and actually I get very sensitive when I think about this, but this one is worse because The other series kind of has an ending to it, which is not great, but it's kind of a goodish ending. But this one decides to go back and show you all of the deaths of everyone that survived as if they wouldn't survive. And for maximize your pain, they decide to show it like when you have that hopeful thingy that they will survive and then nope. And then by the end, it actually goes into a new chapter where something terrible actually happens, and I cannot say what it is. And you're like, but what? And this is very painful, like reading about people dying when their friends are watching, or when there's something, like when they have family waiting for them. It's kind of hard for me to read because I feel you, like, oh my god, why are you doing this to them? What kind of monster are you? But yeah, it was actually pretty fun, but at the same time it was pretty painful. I truly believe that I am a masochist because I do this to myself, just literally. Like, nobody forced me. I just read them by myself, you know? Question number 10 and final question of them all is Avada Kedavra, which is a book that could kill, and you can interpret this as you will. So, kill you, or kill, or whatever you want to interpret this. And for this one, I decided to go with Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor, and for two different reasons. Firstly, because one of the most prominent themes in Strange the Dreamer is actually war, two different factions that aren't to blame for being at war, but they have all of the motives in one side and the other side to actually dislike each side. So they don't know how to forgive the others, they don't know how to cooperate with the others, and that can kill you in the real world. Like, wars happen for some reason because somebody wants something and then other people get angry about that, and that's why they happen, and that's a really, really hard theme, and that's something that could kill in real life. But also because this book literally murdered my feelings. The ending of this book, I was crying, sobbing. I think there's an Owls vlog where I'm actually crying when I'm speaking about this book. I think that I can now speak of it without crying. But Muse of Nightmares is coming out in October, and that's gonna kill me. So, yeah. I don't have anything else to say about this. So that is all for today, guys. I decided that I was going to tag someone to do this tag. So I haven't seen if that person hasn't done this tag yet, but I'm going to check it and I'm going to tell her that I tagged her, and that is going to be The Wild Sasha. I'm going to leave her booktube account down there because I really want to know what she's going to answer to some of these questions, because she has cool answers to stuff. So yeah, Sasha, if you're seeing this, I'm tagging you. If you're not seeing this, I will tell you that I tagged you in this video. So I hope that you do this tag if you want and if you find it enjoyable. And for all of you that are watching this tag, if you want to do it in your personal channel, consider yourselves tagged and just go and do it because it's pretty fun and it's Harry Potter season, so you can all do this tag if you want. So that is all for this video. I hope that you guys enjoy it. If you like it, leave a like or subscribe down below. And that is all for today, guys. So happy readings to you all. Bye!